I just wanted to have fun. That was just like pleasure seeking all the time was what I wanted to do. I didn't want to do the hard work anymore. And that led me to be quite lost, because then it's just you're not taking care of yourself. You're looking for substance abuse and going to the pub all the time and just hanging out with idiots. Like, it's just, it was a lost moment.
Another amazing podcast today with Mini T, 3-time world champion in kickboxing and 1FC MMA fighter. In this episode, we went through his spiritual and healing journey, what got him into Muay Thai, the whole culture of Muay Thai, and even the darkest moments of his life. Check this one out. Danial Williams, welcome to the Blokes Lab.
Thanks for having me.
Mate, I
made it.
You made it, finally. Finally, the peak. The peak. So obviously we'll go through a few different things today. We want to know about the depths of your Muay Thai journey and life and that. But taking it back to the start, how did it all start for you in terms of your upbringing and
Oh, so I mean, martial arts for me is like, ever since I was born, when I can remember, it's like I always wanted to do martial arts, mainly because my brother, there's a few factors. My brother was like right into martial arts, so ever since I can remember, he was running around like a karate uniform, and he loved like all the Bruce Lee, Jean-Claude Van Damme films. So did I. And then my uncle was a boxer as well, my mum's brother, and she grew up with Muay Thai, just people training at their family house. So I feel like it's just always been in me, and just being drawn to that sort of hero status, I think, like probably an ego thing too, but as a kid I love these like heroes in the films and going to fight shows, seeing all the people, like everyone cheer for him, and I liked that like drew me into it. And upbringing kind of thing, like my parents are really like open for me to do self-defense. I have a feeling like my dad changed schools a little bit, so he might have had a bit of a tougher upbringing. He really wanted me to just learn how to defend myself. And they would just push me in the right direction. And then I think it was like 11, there was like the local Muay Thai advertised in our community. And and that's when that opened up. It's like, bang, that's what I wanted to do, being my heritage and everything. And from there, just never really stopped. Just kept going into it. Now I'm doing MMA, and it's been a sick journey.
You grew up in Thailand or
I grew up here. So basically my brother, when he was born here, they went to Thailand for like 3 years, had me, and then before I turned 1 year old, they came back here. So unfortunately I can't speak the language like he can, but it's one of those open-end loops that I've had for so long. I'm going to learn Thai, I'm going to learn to speak it, speak with my mum and that, but it hasn't really happened.
We need Sawadee Cup and you're good to go.
Cup. That's it. You know it. How many times you been?
Let's not go there.
Save that for another podcast.
That's the After Hours podcast. So you said you almost what drew you into martial arts was like the hero sort of aspect. That's what you always admired. So would you say when you were a kid you received more love from your mother or your father, or whose love were you trying to go for?
I was definitely probably trying to go more for my dad's, because my upbringing, he was always away. So it's like my mum did the most in raising me. And she's a tough lady, she, you get on her bad side, man. Once the drawer opened, then we knew that like it was too late, because it was like once that you cross that line, say she's like, go to bed, turn the TV off, and you just said no, and then once you heard the drawer open, no matter how much you apologize, you said, okay, I'll do it now, it wouldn't matter. That was the end of the line. So she was a tough lady, but dad worked away, so he was like 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, sometimes longer. And every time he came back, I was like the spoiled child. Like I just absolutely loved my dad. Like he would take me everywhere. He would just spoil me, kind of thing. So it was just that it sucked every time he left. Like every 2 weeks, it just sucked growing up. So probably definitely longing more for him. Definitely have a lot of his traits. I know you boys have met him before. Like, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, right?
Yeah. And would you say like that? What got you into? When did you start competing?
15 was my first fight. Yeah,
so
15. I did, basically 15.
Did you feel like probably that was the first time when you actually started doing martial arts and doing well that you got like a lot of positive reinforcement?
I guess so, yeah. Like because like one of my earliest memories when I was like 6 or 7, when I first got to experience like a Muay Thai in like a Thai village in Thailand, I was really excited to go. So I remember wearing, like, I had my first pair of like Muay Thai shorts, and I wore that underneath, just hoping like if someone pulls out, I can jump in there and like be this hero of the match. This is like 6, 7 years old, and to finally actually compete 15 was like the most scariest thing for one, first stepping in that ring. And then it was just it's like a drug, you know. Once I finished that, I'm like, holy shit, that's all my mind thought about every day, like still to this day, really. So I guess that approval was a big thing, and like I was doing something, and it was like the alpha male, like I could fight, like that was definitely a thing that drew me to it. And it was I guess like a little bit of a status thing, I guess, because my high school years I was super shy. Like I was like very reserved kid, especially with girls, man. Like I couldn't speak to them. Like I had these like I literally was thinking that I think my friends think I'm gay because I just can't speak to a girl. So it was just like Muay Thai. Muay Thai and training for me like was a good escape too for that sort of social anxiety aspect and being in my head a lot. And then I guess like I am a man, like I am doing something tough kind of thing as well. It definitely has a part in it when I think about it deeply.
With talk about like being a man and like masculinity, sort of how would you define what you would call masculinity?
Masculinity.
Or healthy masculinity.
Yeah, it's I guess healthy masculinity. Okay, it's
how you view it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a shit. There's a lot of areas, but I definitely think like obviously just owning everything yourself is a big thing with being masculine. So you're not trying to be someone else. You're not doing things for the approval of like, so like I'm not going to go to the pub and drink beers with my mates because even though I might hate it, but that's just like a masculine thing to do, just hang out with the boys kind of thing. There's that part to it, but there's also that part where masculinity is like a social construct and we're all one and there shouldn't be any sort of male, female. Sorry, I was getting deep on the non-gender kind of thing. Like, we won't go there. We are all one, experiencing ourselves subjectively. You know, there is no male or female. There is no fair.
She's enlightened.
All right, get out.
That's what they call it.
But, yeah.
So who would be someone that you sort of feel embraces?
Andrew Tate. I'm only saying that because I know Theo's take on him.
But what's your take on him? What things do you think he?
From what I've seen, it's like I haven't dived in too deep because all I've seen Andrew Tate is he's done kickboxing and he's said some things on YouTube that I remember. Oh yeah, that's right, and that's it. I haven't really dived deep into like. I know there's all these other things that he's been going through, but I haven't really just shown that interest to like understand him and what sort of fence I stand on. But what I've seen from him, it hasn't been like, I feel like he just says some things that hits the nail on the head. Don't ask me what he said that I remember, but it was definitely at the time.
I couldn't remember. I can't recall things. Yeah. So obviously he's probably a version for some people. Who would be someone that you would define, or who's someone out there that you think, oh, well, that's someone who I think is a really a good role model for masculinity?
For masculinity.
Or did you have someone also yourself, like growing up, that you view him?
I just, man, a lot of Muay Thai fighters for me, just the guys that looked really, they could take a lot of damage and like be real strong in the ring. I guess I looked up to people like that.
So resilience is one.
Resilience, the resilience. And I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. Just some people.
Where do you reckon that came from?
like the Jason Statham. He was like, you know, in some of the what's the film? Fucking yeah, I can't even remember that. Butchering this now. It was that's the one. Just someone that just like doesn't need to think about things and just does things and holds himself well.
Yeah.
What about what's happening in modern masculinity these days in terms of where things are, the direction things are going? What are your sort of thoughts on it?
I think there's a lot of the term weak male comes out to me a lot. Like, just I guess like people doing things that think that are masculine, but they're not being true to themselves. Like I go back to the pub thing, like going drinking a lot of alcohol, lifting weights, kind of thing, doing things for that isn't true to themselves, but they're doing it for the image. If that makes sense. Yeah.
They're not being authentic. Their behaviours to be seen as a certain character.
Yeah.
And attributes of what they want to visualise them as.
What is your take on? I've never actually because I know both of you speak about this a lot, but what are your takes
on the healthy masculinity or
no today's?
On today. Yeah. I mean, we've both got pretty strong opinions on it. So like, I think what I firstly define as healthy masculinity is someone who's they are very authentic to themselves. They have clear boundaries. They're very
take
responsibility, protector, provider. They're working on improving themselves and others around them. They can hold
strong values and morals.
Yeah, exactly. Those sort of things, and that's they've got a very clear purpose and vision. And they can protect, provide, serve. So that's probably, I think that's probably having the base of what I would say masculinity is, like in terms of healthy masculinity. Where I think things are going, there's a twofold aspect bifurcation that's happening with it. I think there's the left side. We've got the left side, which is not left side. Just got one way, which is the over the top hyper masculine, the toxic masculinity. That's I think the real over response to what's happening in terms of the pushing for men to be submissive, weak, docile, not clear, not have healthy boundaries, not be someone that can serve and be reliable. So then they go the other way and they become that, make money, arsehole, use and abuse and
rigid and
and I think those people on that sort of spectrum, that's where I think a lot of the red pill guys will jump on it. And there's elements of that are good, which is that, it's you're on your own, you're out there to, make something yourself, earn income, all those aspects I think are fine, but it's probably how they go about it. They go about it, which is probably wrong. Whereas the other side is the weak, docile side. I think that's coming more from society where things are going.
Everything's easy.
Things like
comfort.
Exactly right. There's the comfort. There's things like porn, food, computer games, that sort of stuff. I feel like there's a pretty clear attack on masculinity in terms of strong masculinity, and that's happens from kids now, from school.
Yeah, because I live near primary school, and what I do notice are kids that walk to the school, a lot of them are like this, and their posture, they're real young, it looks like their posture is already getting sort of ruined at a very young. It's going to be good for you having being a chiropractic. Oh shit, this is going to. But I'm noticing that with kids with the screen time, and then I think that's just what businesses want.
That's bad parenting also, man. Lack of presence from the parents and all that stuff. Because if as a parent you allow the kids consistently, you give them the screen, the iPad, the phone, and just for the sake of getting some time, to for yourself, but you're not actually focusing at all on your kid, obviously what's going to happen? And then they go to school, which you can't control it anymore, especially the way the education system is nowadays. And it's a mess. Completely.
Yeah.
And you even look at the way young boys are getting treated in schools these days. Young boys, we take, I think the biology is young boys are probably 12 to 18 months behind girls. so they're not going to be academically at the same level. Once they hit like 15, there's actually like biological differences. So as well, so they're not going to get that positive reinforcement for being as intelligent. You think, what are some masculine traits? A bit more loud and boisterous, and they're a bit more like less like settled and reserved. A lot of young girls are a bit more detailed, a bit more sit down. They'll listen, they'll behave. So I mean, a lot of, I guess we say like boys being boys. The teaching system now is not allowing boys to be boys. It's trying to convert them into girls, because girls are the well-behaved ones. So how do we get you boys from being loud and boisterous? And even someone like me, I was saying this the other day, like to someone, I was fucking shithouse in school, like uni, man. And I was just like, and I was all over the shop. Like I was all over the shop. I know I'm 100% fucking ADD. I only just realised like a month ago, and I'm like late 30s. And I was like, man, if I like me these days went through that system, that 100% put me on like 100% would put me on. And there's a 4-to-1, male to female ratio of kids that they put on Ritalin. So you think they're essentially trying to create, from that young age, to try and control young boys to be less masculine and less less boisterous, and they're trying to numb them down from even from that age, which is so much more profound than when I was a kid. And, we're the same age. When we were kids, it wasn't. Boys were allowed to be a bit more boys and find their way. And even like with myself now, like my gift is that, like, in terms of I can think about a lot of different things at the same time, which would obviously get you into trouble. But like, I can leverage that skill of being like ADD to to my advantage with all the different things I'm working on. Whereas if I was coming through now, that would put me on Ritalin. That would have completely changed the whole course of my life.
Changed everything.
And that's just from like one example from the schooling. And then it's like, and then the workplace and the dating market and all these different, like, there's so many layers of like what's contributing.
But in general, like getting boys from a young age, like the way we evolved, we were literally going hunting with the fathers and the grandfathers from early age, and actually growing up inside 4 walls, trying to contain us. And all our primal instincts and the things that feel natural to us. So you basically straight away, you're almost getting castrated.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
We're literally taught to be a certain way.
It's like trying to contain a beast.
And you're getting, they're always rewarding boys to be docile.
You
know what I mean?
Be a good little boy.
Be a good little boy.
Be submissive.
It's like, be like the girls.
Exactly.
Like the girls are good. They're good. They behave. They're docile. They do the right thing. And it's like boys are girls. You know what I mean? And there's so many different things at the moment.
It's very confusing.
And you can't. The biology is different in terms of how it develops. Biology is different.
And now they introduce that craziness also with gender and
it's just confusing,
all these new constructs and all the stuff. They give an opportunity to already wounded identity and give like lost basically like individuals the opportunity to create this new identity in their head, just to receive some love and be a part of something, which is crazy, man.
It is crazy. I know I can't remember where I've heard this, probably where I've read it, but something about when you spread confusion, it's easy to control. And that's I feel like I've seen that with the genders and just like
division as well.
Division,
like black, white, binary, non-binary, male, female. Like the more division, you create more hatred. People don't unite. The more confusion, like less people like gel and stick together. So
if you go 100 years ago, you didn't have like literally probably 80% of even the words that they have created the past probably 20, 30 years. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Did you see the that doco? Was it with Matt? What's his name?
Matt Walsh.
Matt Walsh. You see when he went to
What is a Woman?
What is a Woman? You see that?
No.
So he's the guy. He's the guy with the beard who does just goes around to like uni campuses and does a whole heap of interviews, and he's done a full documentary on like the whole gender. Gender sort of issues. Well, I loved it. He went to like Africa. And he started interviewing like the African tribes.
Literally asking
they would
them.
know that is
You should see their reactions. It's so interesting, man. So interesting.
And then like the same questions you would ask, like these girls in their early 20s, hardcore left, like privileged white, like American girls that would go to like Africa and ask like these tribal guys the exact same questions. It's just hilarious. It's just hilarious.
That would be. I have to watch that. Matt Walsh.
I'll say.
He's very good at breaking it all down, very like logically as well. Not just emotionally.
And he can really hold himself also without showing emotion, like during the interviews, because obviously he's getting attacked a lot. So he's very good at communicating his ideas and beliefs. But he speaks the truth. That's it. And we need more people to fight for that at the moment.
Would you say he's a good view of masculinity then? Like a good representation?
Bro, he actually has 6 kids.
Yeah, right.
6 kids, man. So he's a devoted father. Like, he's fighting for a very strong cause. Like, obviously he has a very strong purpose. Like, he's very stoic. He's holding himself like very, very well. Like 100% he is, man. 100%.
Yeah.
You know, and he's a man of faith also. Like, some people, they will agree with that, some others they won't. Like, he's Christian, but that's the thing. You know, he has a very, very strong presence, and and he's fighting for his kids, he's fighting for the kids of everyone. So 100% he is.
Thinking of masculinity, just recently when I was at the airport, I just remember seeing like a man with his family, would have been like his parents or his wife's parents, like 3 kids, the uncle and auntie. Anyway, he just had all their passports in the immigration line. And I just feel like that's an alpha male, because he's just taking care of the family, and he's like, no one's losing their passport. We're going to have a good holiday. I'm taking charge. And everyone was kind of like,
he's living.
You could feel it. You could see him like he's got it under control. And
you see a lot of like different ethnicities, like non-Western, like dads and that, and you see they like really exhibit strong masculinity, and like you'll see their wife will respect them. They run the show. Their kids respect them. Their sons look up to them as like, that's my role model. The daughters look up to him and go, he's the king. You know what I mean? And that's like, I feel like when you have that, your family views you like that. That's when you're doing the right things.
100%.
In terms of like your Muay Thai background, what's probably the biggest gift that you've got from actually going deep into the art?
The biggest gift,
whether it's
just from martial art,
taught you something, or whether like something has changed or influenced your life.
Yeah, the good impact that it had in your life in general, or your growth.
Yeah,
as a young boy.
I think, man, the biggest, like for martial arts to me, is just the life experiences. Hey, that's the biggest. So a lot's come from these experiences. So resiliency is obviously one which I feel like I've got taken a big sort of value from martial arts, but just to be able to like travel around the world and compete, and then like stay in those countries for holidays, and just like I was at a young age, it was cool to be like well traveled and have these experiences. So also being able to be like quite open-minded as well, so adapt to different situations, I think martial arts has given me. So seeing things from different perspectives, and just from being from traveling and just having these life experiences. I always think martial arts give me like mad life experiences, and then those life experiences, create other things like I said, like resiliency and whatever else I just said before.
Do you feel also like with Muay Thai or martial arts in general, it's a great way to connect also with your body and unify like the system, like the mind and body connection, especially like being a young male?
100%. So I guess martial arts has brought me to meet you guys as well, and like Coach Theo has been a massive part in my development.
I like that.
Just with the whole connecting everything together.
Yep.
So knowing like I want to do everything right. So just obviously look after your body, look after your work life, look after your personal relationships, look after keep developing in sport. So I'm kind of gone off track. What was it? Can we go back to the question?
Yeah, so it's like just in terms of the biggest thing you learnt from Muay Thai, I guess, actually it's probably like resilience. Ability, and that's one thing when you're fortunate enough to travel a lot, which as like a professional athlete, again, I'm fortunate, I travel quite a bit. I guess,
and then to break it all down again, it's the ultimate tool for self-development for me.
Yep.
Because it's connecting the physical and the emotional, the mental state, which is,
there's so many lessons. Like, I mean, I'm not a Muay Thai guy, I'm more jiu-jitsu guy, but similar.
I'm trying to be.
What do Muay Thai guys think of jiu-jitsu guys? Come on.
Have you seen those teep Muay Thai videos? So funny. Honestly, man, it's so funny. Like I just, because I find BJJ super hard, and so I have massive respect for it. So I feel like when you get Muay Thai guys talking down or like making fun of jiu-jitsu, and you can tell that they're kind of being serious about it, I would just shake my head, because it's like, man, have you done it? Have you actually experienced it? My first BJJ lesson was against like a 48 kilo girl, and the first girl I actually rolled with, and I didn't want to go with her. She was obviously like similar height to me, so they used to go together for the end of round sparring, rolling, and I didn't want to go with her, man, because obviously I'm like, oh, I guess I'm a male. I just felt stronger. Like that was this, I just already thought, oh, I'll just go easy on her, I'll go light. And man, she screwed me up, hey. I'd never been tapped so much in one session, I think. And after that really brought me into BJJ. I'm like, what is this sport? Like, that's crazy. And then you go to all these sessions and all different types of body shapes, and, the guy like scrawny, no muscle definition, nerdy looking guys would just be absolutely destroying you. So I have massive respect for it. So it's hard. Like, I don't. Yeah,
I'm not around.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. you see another podcast.
Jiu-jitsu pussies. Yeah. So so how did you? What was the hardest thing as well? Because you went from your Muay Thai background, then you transitioned into MMA. What was that transition period? What was that sort of like for you? What got you into? Why did you want to do MMA, and how was the process?
I've always wanted to do MMA ever since there used to be the blockbuster videos, the UFC you could watch. Like my brother used to watch all this stuff like on YouTube. So I've always wanted to do it, and it was like, while I was doing Muay Thai, I knew I could get to a certain level, and after that, so world title, I wanted to do MMA, and it kind of went to plan as well. But it was really hard because, it was just, I guess, the fear of the unknown too. I'm already at a top level. Like, should I keep keep doing this? But I had a big loss for kickboxing. So actually 2 of my biggest losses have been like kickboxing, where I've been knocked out. And after that, I felt that was the highest level for me in terms of money. And for my weight division, where the top level I could go to was the K1. And after losing that, unsuccessful twice there, I was kind of like, oh, you know what, this is a good time. I've done everything I can in Muay Thai. All the goals I surpassed. I didn't even think I'll get to where I would be in Muay Thai. And then it was just like, all right, the kickboxing failed. Let's do MMA. And then that was a very hard task, because completely new sport, different body shape, and it was injury after injury. And also not looking after myself as well. There was other things involved, like, high cannabis use, drinking, like partying hard. Just like that. Just fight it.
Just bring that trauma.
Yeah, I miss those days actually. Fuck.
What are you doing later?
How did you feel actually when you achieved also, like in Muay Thai, the highest level also for you, because you mentioned that you didn't even think that you would go as far. Did you feel after achieving that you felt almost like, oh, what's next? And you felt a bit lost, man, in a way?
It was. So basically, after my world title fight, it was literally like that week I fucking done heaps of drugs, and then like the week after that I went to Europe for like 6 weeks, and I had this mad trip. And then like after that I was booked in for a K1 fight, the one I got knocked out in a world title eliminator. And it was like I didn't want to work hard for it. I just wanted to stay like partying, and I guess my ego got really big. And then so when I lost that, that's when there was the time where like nothing really fulfilled me that much. And then they offered me another Muay Thai fight and I took it, but then that got cancelled. And I was kind of like, oh, it was a relief. So I wasn't really doing it for myself because I was kind of at that level where, I didn't want to compete anymore because it wasn't that fulfilling.
Even after you won the world title?
Yeah. Oh, after I won the world title, yeah. So that was the most fulfilling moment, one of the most fulfilling moments in my life. And like I said, I partied really hard for like 6 weeks.
Which was the second most fulfilling.
Yeah. So all my dopamine level, after that, when that stopped, it was kind of like I couldn't have fun.
Because a lot of people struggle after they obviously have that big
Success,
goal. That big goal they choose.
Yeah.
And like that, whatever it is, and they hit it, and then
I didn't want to defend it. Like even they offered me like these, like there wasn't actually defense offer like in the time I stopped anyway, but it was kind of like, what do I do now kind of thing. That was all, like I said, that surpassed my expectations, getting the WMC strap more than once. So it was kind of like shit, bit lost, and especially being like 21 years old, man. It was just kind of like I just wanted to have fun. That was just like pleasure seeking all the time was what I wanted to do. I didn't want to do the hard work anymore, and that led me to be quite lost because then it's just you're not taking care of yourself. You're looking for substance abuse and going to the pub all the time and just hanging out with idiots. Like it's just it was a lost moment, I guess. That 2015 sort of 2014-15 was a bit of just a lost time.
Yeah, it can be like after a big achievement.
Yeah, like
what's next can be like such a hard question.
Because like after that title fight, I just kept going. So there was just like other peak pleasure-seeking activities I was doing, and then it wasn't till I finished that holiday. It was kind of like.
So you were almost addicted to that high, and you were chasing consistently.
Yeah.
Or you surpass it probably.
Yeah. And that, and then like. Just there was a lot of didn't take care of the body. So when I did try to do any exercise, there was like, injuries started happening and I couldn't connect that. I just thought I was invincible, man. It was a massive like ego trip in life.
In terms of like the like culture of Muay Thai as well, like it's very like there is often a lot of drug use. Partying out with athletes and like that just got to fucking just keep going. Like it's like the resilience like they don't normally look after their bodies. Heaps of like drugs. It's a very common thing.
Very common.
More so than other martial arts, I find.
Yeah.
Did you sort of find that was like just part of that culture, even if you weren't necessarily doing it when you were younger, it was like around you?
Yeah. Yeah, well, we've spoken about this, Theo, like it was around me all the time. So the first gym I went to, not the first gym, but the first main fight gym I went to, I was surrounded by traumatized people. Like a lot of them are either dead or in jail or just not doing well in life. And I think a lot of Muay Thai is about punishing yourself. Okay, a lot of pain and I can definitely relate because obviously being like very like anxious kid in high school and found it hard to go there and then Muay Thai was my release, but it was more like I went there to get punished. You know, I hated myself. I thought I was shit and useless. I guess that's a lot in the sport because you go to Thailand where the roots are, a lot of them start Muay Thai because it's a way of income for them. Like they're already supporting the family when they're 6 or 7 years old, like fighting and giving some money to their family who's poor. And they're damaging their body and like training really hard. So the traditional way of Muay Thai is sort of like a one size fits all. It's their full-time job. So they train 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours at night. And that's a long time, like, you know, for your body and like,
a
lot of punishment and the trainers as well. It's a victim cycle, you know. So the trainers are being ex-fighters. They become trainers and they've been traumatized their whole life, bashed their body, a lot of alcohol abuse, and they train these young kids and they get their mentors are like people that have been traumatized. So they're generational.
Keeps getting a cycle consistent.
Yeah, so it's really yeah, and you go to the roots of it as well. Like in the stadiums, man, it's all gambling. It's like human cockfighting. So that's why, man, like what one championship are doing with Muay Thai, I think it's great because Muay Thai was already corrupt anyway. Like it wasn't, I never had this vision of being like a Lumpini or Rajadamnam stadium champ. That's like the pinnacle for Muay Thai. That's where like these Thais started when they were 6 years old. Like that's where the highest level they can get to in Thailand. It surpasses a lot of the WMC, WBC world. Yeah, like the stadium titles were like where the most craziest fighters were. And but there was so much corruption in that, man. Like depending which gym you're from, you can watch fights and you think the other guy won, but they give it to the other guy. Lot of politics, lot of gambling. So it's kind of like I never actually had that inspiration. I knew that as a young kid. Like my mum always used to tell me things. My uncle, like she'd always see it as a poor man's sport kind of thing. And I just never had that like desire to be a Lumpini or Rajadamnam world champion. Like I definitely didn't want that because I just felt it was corrupt anyway, and it's completely different to what I wanted to do. So that's why, people sort of the Muay Thai purists don't really like the one championship coming in, like small gloves, 3-minute rounds, really taken away from the traditions. But yeah, the traditions are fun.
But it makes the sport like much cleaner and all that stuff, and it will allow it to grow to something
exactly.
different.
And it's always evolved. The sport's always evolved. So it started with like the art of war, with the ropes.
Yep.
So it's always changed. So these guys missing about the golden era days, like Lumpini, Raja fights, and yeah, that's just...
I will never forget that Van Damme movie, like, when they were fighting with Tong Po and they had
Yeah, exactly. So,
crazy.
But that's like a lot of purists in anything. There's an art. They all want to keep it the days that when they are relevant in the day. And you sort of see there's the nostalgia behind it, but like everything needs to evolve. Yeah. And even like in jiu-jitsu, we do like the purists. So that's everything was always about the gi and do the IPJJ comps.
Yeah.
Or even before that was the just unlimited no time rules until you tap someone.
Yeah.
That was the original, and then it went into the IPJJ comps, where it's a point system, and then once the whole no gi leg lock, Gordon Ryan generation came through, then the purists would hate those guys, and now that's just so established. It's just like you have to know it. You're gonna get fucking mauled if you don't know it. So, and that's part. And the guys obviously these days are so much better than what they were in the early days. But then that's just part of evolution. You got to upset sometimes the purists doing things differently to be able to evolve.
Yeah, exactly. So it just happens everywhere. Just people get stuck in a certain way, or they don't want it to change. And life's always about evolving, right? So
how was the? It's funny that you got 3 world titles, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You have 3 world titles, then you've transitioned to MMA in ONE FC, and then during your transition, then you got offered 2 mega fights back in Muay Thai.
Yeah.
Which would arguably be bigger fights or bigger names than what you had in your whole career before then. So explain I watched the Rod Tang fight. How did you feel when the contract or the opportunity came up? How was that process?
Man, the phone call. So I was pub night. The story goes, I was at the pub. It was through the COVID. Everything was shut. It kind of just opened up. So spending a lot of time drinking just with my friends. And I was like, I'm going to email ONE Championship because I'm a Thai citizen. I think they're doing shows in Thailand and no one will be able to get in the country, so I should be able to slide in there. That'll be sick. I had this idea, and then emailed him. They had like a fighter interest section on the website. Emailed him, and then forgot about it. Obviously pissed that night. And then literally 10 days later, I got the message from a guy that I know's worked with ONE, that I met him like when I fought on a show called Rebellion Muay Thai, and he was the guy who'd bring all these Thais over. So when he hey Dan, he messaged me on the Altered Stage page because I actually deleted Facebook at the time, and he's like, hey Dan, I want to chat with you. And I was like, holy shit, walking the dog with my missus, like shit, I think ONE Championship want to speak to me. Like, wouldn't it be funny if they offered me Rod Tang? And we laughed, and literally 2 minutes in the call, I knew where it was going. I was like, yes. I was like, man, this is like, you gotta, it's just like one for the storybooks, you know. Like one of my coaches, a good friend of mine, Jason, is always like, you got to make stories in life, you know, and he's an ultimate storyteller. And it was funny, we had this conversation in the pub, just like, if we look back at this in 10 years time, we're going to look back at COVID, so let's make stories during COVID. And then that was just drinking at the pub really, but so it was just cool to be able to just do something so different and just have that life experience. Because when I look back at it, I'm like, man, holy shit, what happened? What COVID, when people bring up COVID, oh yeah, that's the time I freaking flew to Singapore in the empty plane and had all these freaking PCR tests and that, and got stuck in a hotel for basically 3 weeks, and then just driven to the venue to compete, and then back to the hotel, back home, and then in the hotel quarantine for 2 weeks. So and that really just set up that passion for like, I want to do like fucking Muay Thai as well again, because it just really sparked that interest again. And I always felt I was always going to come back to Muay Thai. I felt it was going to be like one of those things where I'm kind of like a bit of a can in MMA. I've done like a lot of fights. I'm getting older now, and it's like, you know what, I'm going to jump in a Muay Thai fight now as well, just to finish off. But it was crazy, man, getting that experience, and then just having that life story now.
Were you fearful going into that? How do you feel when you're going against a guy that you know is like probably levels above what you've gone against? Yeah,
there was definitely like 2 nights before, I remember just being in my hotel room, and there was like probably an hour, maybe longer, I don't know, I'm like, fuck, I'm super nervous. What if this guy just kills me, like, kind of thing? Like, shit. But that was the only time I remember, because the rest is just, you know, you got to self-talk, and it's kind of like, and that's with a lot of fights. It's always like a whirlwind of emotional state. But I just remember particularly like 2 nights before thinking, shit, like, what am I doing? But that was the first time through the whole fight. I was very confident leading up to it, because I'm thinking, like, no one expects me to win. Like, I literally have no pressure. And, like, I didn't feel like I had to please anyone. I literally was just going there for me. And, and because I had nothing to lose, I just felt like I'm going to give it to him, kind of thing. But, it was a hard. I gave it to him,
Back and forth?
Yeah.
And how was it? Was that no crowd?
That was no crowd.
How was it different? Like, did you find that more difficult or easier?
Easier, because it was like a sparring match. It was just me and him in there, and it just, I guess it took away his limelight as well, because he's obviously a bit of a show stealer. Didn't like, not that it affects me too much, but the last fight was Super Lake, like the crowd like roared for him, you know, and it's kind of like, there was probably none of that. I didn't feel like I was a different person to him. It was just, we both did PCR tests together. We both did all the media stuff. Like, he's just another human being, man. Humanized him massively through the COVID thing. Yeah.
Definitely. And speaking of the Super League fight, that was a pretty short that was a story as well. So, like, obviously you had Rod taking Super League, and that's two of those fights towards the latter end of your career. How did that one sort of play out?
Yeah, so same, man. Like, when I seen Rod hanging them on the card, I always had that fantasy of like, if one of them pull out, I'll be out of all the other fighters on the card. I thought I should definitely go in there, because even though I'm a weight under, but there was no other flyweight kickboxers. And when it happened, when I got the offer, like, it was weird, because I remember just getting a message, and I was about to get a haircut, and it's from one of the matchmakers, like, hey, Dan. And I really wanted to reply, like, Superlek, ? I had this feeling, man, Rod Tang, like, his last post was him having a marriage, and like, there's all this other, like, he's just got married, he's going everywhere, he's about to fight Superlek, like, and so anyway, I just had this, and he had that match in America all booked already. So I just had this feeling, and so I wanted to tell him Super Black ? But I didn't answer it until I finished my haircut, because I didn't want to start something. And then when I put my phone back on airplane to to he said, yeah, the super leg match. I was like, holy shit, let's do it.
A hero shows up again.
Yeah, same thing. It was like, shit, well, I thought, had that story with Rodtang, so it's kind of like super leg, same thing, like weight under. He's the champ. He's, very well-known fighter. I've known him for years, and like, sweet, no pressure again. Like, I just, another life story. That's all I thought. Another life story. I'm going to look back at this and be able to tell the grandkids the parts I can remember anyway. Copped a big head kick.
That's it. You got to dare to be great, my man.
Yeah. But reflecting on it, it's kind of like, I kind of disrespected him a little bit. I wanted to steal all that thunder, all that, how long he's been working hard for and how he's been in that position for a long time. Like, I just wanted to come in and steal that. Like, they take the easy route. I wanted to take the easy route. Like, I'll be a star after this. I'll get higher pay. And, the fact that he's worked a lot hard. I haven't fought kickboxing in a very long time. I was training for a different sport, Muay Thai, and to be a weight under, I was definitely felt his power compared to mine, man. It was always going to be a hard task, but hey, it's like winning the lotto for me. It was like a lotto ticket,
What's the darkest moment in your career?
Probably the Japan, when I got knocked out, my first ever experience of being knocked out, thinking I was invincible before that. So it was like everything that I believed was gone.
Who did you fight?
There was a French dude, his name's Charles Bongiovanni, and it was a dark moment because I just felt like I could do a lot better because, like I said, I won the world title, partied, didn't want to do the hard work, and then I lost to this guy, and he just, after that, he fought twice more and got knocked out himself. So I'm against guys that I didn't think that were awesome as well. So it was kind of like, shit, like I ruined that opportunity because that would have set me up for like a title match against Takeru, which is like a big name. Like win, lose or draw against that guy would have been a cool person to fight. So that was a bit of a dark moment, and that just sent me down the whole cannabis, just alcohol again, and just like trying to reinvent myself kind of thing. And I actually turned away from the sport a lot. I didn't want to like I thought all Muay Thai people were gay because they like love Muay Thai, and like I shouldn't say that, but in that sort of toxic masculinity right here. But you know what I mean. I just like I wanted to be against it because I failed in it, and it changed my perception of myself.
That's the thing, the way you were feeling inside, obviously, like that you were projecting outwards what was happening. That's a thing.
How'd you pull yourself out of it?
Don't really have one thing that's like, that definitely pulled me out of it. But like anything, it's time, right? Because I love martial arts, and after like 6 months, I finished university and I didn't train or do anything with martial arts for like a year and a half, and then it's like, oh shit, like I definitely want to get back into it now. So it's just time, really, man, and just because I was trying to avoid me wanting to practice martial arts. Like eventually, after a bit of time, it's like, let's do this again. Yeah.
What sort of, I know you've done a fair bit of spiritual work and healing work with Theo. So what was the point that you thought you got to where you had to start that process, and what did it look like? And Theo, you can jump in as well on this one.
Yeah. When did we start? What was the first?
It was probably like a year ago.
Yeah, I remember
similar
it was.
period.
I had all this. It was just a point in life where there was a lot going on. It was like business stuff, and obviously I knew Theo's work, and I knew he could potentially help with just putting the work life, sport life, like relationship life all together. Like holistic Hercules. What happened to that name,
Another fine man for us. Forgot about that guy.
So I had a lot of business pressure, and at the time I was a bit lost in my way. So it was kind of cool how everything happens for a reason. And I remember seeing him one day, I'm like, Theo, like I just explained things to him, and then we set up a date to yeah,
start the process.
to actually just talk about things a bit more and organise things around my life, and massive help.
So how did you structure it, Theo, when you were taking down through the process?
So first of all, obviously, with the first session, we have to identify clearly like what was happening. And the thing is, with me, he had a lot of chaos up here, so we had to work with the mind in the beginning because his mind was so overactive. His identity wasn't clear at all, and at the same time, he had a lot of behavioral patterns that were very damaging, to his, relationships in general with friends, with his partner, the business and all the stuff. So he was struggling a lot to really define also, his purpose and everything else, and he was struggling to get the clarity required to accomplish also succeeding on his business and having really clear structure there and leading that. But at the same time, also he struggled to have the consistency with his training and everything else, and really focus on that properly.
Creating boundaries. That was a massive thing. People pleasing,
behaviors, like not lack of boundaries. The typical like nice guy.
And go back to starting Muay Thai too, and like going to the gym and bashing myself. I guess that's like with the people pleasing tendencies of like letting people walk all over you, or like just doing things that you don't want to do. It's kind of like Muay Thai was a way to just train and get bashed and then kind of forget about it, kind of thing.
How do you deal with people pleasers? Will they come to you?
Exactly, they would.
Common.
I was one of them, man.
Yeah,
I was one of them.
And there's levels.
And that's the thing. First of all, like you have to identify where you inherited that behavior. Because for me, I saw that like from my mom. My mom, she was someone that she would literally probably give everything she could for everybody else before herself. So I saw her growing up, literally supporting everyone, and literally bring herself to the ground before she even, and that's the thing, like when I saw that and inheriting that behavior, like obviously I carried on, and growing up, like I had the same thing. I was trying to save everyone around me and please everyone just so I can actually feel good about myself. So recognizing, first of all, like going through like obviously your childhood and all the stuff, and understanding, where that stems from is very, very important. But then obviously like you have to do certain work in order to go through the behaviors and how to start shifting this behavior.
Yeah.
What did the actual like therapy / treatment / healing process look like? What things were you specifically doing with Dan?
So with Dan, obviously, like we did a lot of work in regards to his ego identity, because obviously that is a massive part of the ego identity, and it was a big part of him. So we had to really understand this identity properly and what that construct is, and then actually start working, how it shows up on his business, because he was basically like, he couldn't say no, he was consistently like pleasing everyone, and that started like having a massive impact on the business. So obviously you put everything down and how it shows up, and then you start having to do confrontation, for example, having to start to say no and having the difficult conversations, and basically starting to honor yourself and bring back your power instead of giving it away to everybody else. So it's a lot has to do with basically bringing more back to yourself and actually coming from a place of, I'm present, and now I'm choosing me instead of choosing the other people before me. And it's a constant practice that you need to do consistently, so you can start shifting.
And the big thing was that I've used, especially with my business now as well, like for myself first, was like identifying your values and basically like your mission kind of thing, like where your goals. So
he's never done basically like anything. Never
done those basic things, and that's like I practice that every day now. I see it every day, my values, and I change them. And obviously the journaling, that was massive, because I still look at, like yesterday I looked at stuff like 2 weeks ago, and it's like a reminder to always look back at what you've written, because then you start to learn more about yourself. Like, hang on, like So it's with the cannabis use, that's a big one for me, right? Like, I love my pot. Like, ever since I was a kid, like, my favorite movie was Cheech and Chong. I seen it like 12 years old. I got them tattooed on my finger, man. My first Bali tattoo when I was on mushrooms. So and it felt fucking, it was kind of funny, like, with the, anyway, that's another crazy story. But, yeah, just it was weird how I was drawn into cannabis because like Bob Marley, like Buffalo Soldier was my favorite song when I was like 10 years old, and my first shirt I got from Thailand was like a tie-dye Bob Marley shirt, and I just felt cannabis found me, you know. But it definitely, my relationship with it is something that I've been working with Theo as well, just like the relationship wasn't the best relationship with it. So I'm being able to journal stuff, and I can see like, why am I smoking a lot of cannabis again? So like I can relate it to the same stuff I was writing down for my daily journal, what I'd done during the day and that, and I can relate it to like, hang on, like, yeah, there's so much pressure here that's why the next few weeks was like a overload of cannabis. Like, yeah, not that I'm against the plan at all. Like, health is very, beneficial. Exactly, it's just what the relationship you have with it.
If you use it for your benefit or actually uses you. And this is where guys get lost, like especially with this particular plan, because it's very seductive. Yeah, but the thing is with Minity also, he was very clear on actually like how these behaviors were playing like on his day-to-day life and all the stuff, and with which characters. So we basically broke down, we identified every single one of them, and then he started actually like going through the process of facing properly like these situations and saying no and having to do the confrontations and all the stuff. And that had such a massive impact on him, because all of a sudden he removed so much craziness and chaos from his life. Wrong relationships, you know.
Oh, it's crazy.
What came up when you started having to confront people?
Oh,
whereas typically you would have just people pleased.
Yeah, I guess what came up was just a confidence boost massively when you do that. It's not that bad. You just cook things up in your head, and just to be able to like cut ties with certain people and make decisions where, or say no, I don't want to catch up with like certain people. Like, yeah, it's very, you get surprised by the response. Like, you have that saying where it's like, don't have expectations because you always be let down. Like, basically, like, I had these expectations. If I did this to say, I'd said no to certain people, they'll think this and this, but it's not like that at all. All of it's just like a perception in your mind. So very confidence building to be able to just create boundaries. And it's still got a long way to go, don't get me wrong, but I look back, like, you know how people say when they're older, we're like, oh, I wish I was 20 again, I do this and that. And it's kind of like, man, I don't want to be 20 again. Like, right now, I feel is like the best years of my life so far. Like, I think the way I think of things kind of thing. But then again, some things in the 20 were fucking awesome. Like you do want to go back. 6 weeks in Europe was pretty good.
You finally I knew back then.
Yeah,
it's fun being a boy also.
A boy, exactly, being a boy.
The road as well, you know. You gotta like, everyone's got their own journey, and we've all done some fucking wild shit.
Yeah,
but like, it's all part of your story.
That's why I'm waiting for.
You know, that's why you're waiting for.
I'm gonna Ryan when he gets deeper into his party stories. That viewership is just we'll go viral, man.
But that's why also, man. Like, you know, being a man is a choice. But being a male, being a boy, like you are born like that. That's the thing. So you have to make a choice. Do you want to go there and do the work required?
Of course. And did you eventually start to change your relationship with plant medicine, or use different types of plant medicine to, I guess, start to heal some of the stuff you've gone through?
Well, go back to the Rod Tang fight. So I actually done my first fungi ceremony in a setting where it was actually a ceremony. Other times I've done mushrooms, like parties, friends, and like, you know, never really connected with the mushroom. But the first ceremony I did, man, it was what came up. So the first part was a lot of anxiety, a lot of like, it was kind of challenging to get through. But then like the second round, like the next, after 2 hours, like the next 2 hours, it probably went for like 5 hours, this journey. The last bit, it was a very confidence building, and I had the vision, like, like me and Rodtang were in the cage. That kept coming up. And so it was weird how it's almost like you put that out so much to the universe that actually happened.
Yep.
So that's why that whole story is just a crazy one for me. So yeah, that was the first time I connected with like plant medicine, or it's not really a plant, fungi anyway. But I think that opened up the door to doing other sort of ceremonial stuff. And a few days ago I done something called Cambo. That was a good experience, because how I felt after was it's like it cleansed.
Explain what Cambo is.
Yeah.
Cambo. So Cambo basically is another traditional, like indigenous South American medicine, which basically comes from a frog. I think the name is Philomedusa bicolor. And basically even the origin story of how that came about and how the indigenous people actually used it as a medicine has to do with ayahuasca and the visions and all the stuff, which ayahuasca is a big thing in the jungle in South America. So basically it's the venom extracted from the frog when they stress it out. And basically the facilitator burns you with a vine stick, usually on your shoulder, and basically applies the medicine on the burns, on the gates, that's how they call them, and basically through your lymphatic system, goes all the way to your heart and gets pumped everywhere. And basically you feel this warmth inside your body, like almost like the medicine and the spirit scans your whole body. And you have about 1.5 to 2 liters of water before you actually go through this process, and basically pulls from the tissues and the organs and everything, toxins and everything that doesn't essentially need to be there anymore, and cleans your whole system. It's man, I'm telling you, I've done a lot of things, but the way you feel after this particular medicine, nothing else has given it to me. You feel just so clear, so energetic. You almost feel like there's no blocks or resistance at all on your system. And they call it actually the vaccine of the forest. That's how they call it. So that's my choice of vaccine. When
the facilitator was singing, I heard vaccine. It sounded like you're saying vaccine.
The floresta, I think they call it. So it's a vaccine of the forest. Yeah.
And so you don't get any visuals or anything like that generally?
No, it's not. It's not a psychedelic. It's literally a venom. It's literally, you're creating the way you do with saunas and ice baths and all that stuff. You create the hormetic response again, and basically to strengthen your system. Like that's what vaccines essentially they're supposed to do, but that's not the reality. It creates that response within your body, so to strengthen the whole system and basically clean your physical and energy body at the same time.
And essentially it's about a 45, 60-minute process where you just vomit. You got your bucket. Nice spot on the floor.
Well, you've been through that also.
45, have a nice little spot with your friends. Pillow, sit on it. Bucket.
Again, everybody's different also. Like for me personally, I don't really purge much in general.
You didn't.
That's not my way of purging.
Did you purge much?
So my purge, there was one point where it came out every hole in my body, man. So I had to rush to the toilet. They guided me to the toilet. So I fucking shat myself at the same time. I mean, I was in the toilet. Sorry. I had diarrhea. I was in the toilet. It wasn't crazily, but anyway, I had the bucket. So it was coming out my nose, coming out my mouth, coming out my ass, and I was pissing at the same time. I'm like, what an experience!
That's how you clean the system properly, right?
But like when you mentioned the sauna, ice baths, anything in training session, anything you do hard, that was challenging.
Very, very challenging.
Yeah, it's like
Sananga in the beginning, also the eye drops.
It was just a few hours of just torturing yourself, eh? Yeah. And like anything that you do challenging and hard and you get through it, it's almost like that sense of
accomplishment.
You're reborn again.
Confidence, strength, empowerment. You feel so much after that, man. And this is something that's missing because we said in the beginning about weak men and all that stuff.
Comforts.
How many men willingly or consciously will take themselves through something like that?
Barely, yeah. I mean,
very few. Very few. That's the reality.
Just vape and play some.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
But see, even with the vaccines, you just sit there with a needle, like they just put it in, boom, that's it. Like there's no really anything, no connection, no ceremony around it, no nothing. You don't even know what they put inside your arm. Like that's the reality, man. When you actually do things with intentions and it's your choice, you choose to go there and undergo such a difficult and challenging experience. When you come out of that, you feel superhuman, man. Like that's a reality. That's a reality. And that's why as men we have to consistently seek something to take us there. A challenge. You know,
spiritually, mentally, physically.
In every level. You have to work. Everything is like a muscle, man. You have to work, to put that work through it. The same with your spirit. You have to consistently practice connecting with your spirit and having that dialogue and connection. The same with your body, the same with your mind. Like you have to spend the time to connect.
Everything.
Career, your business, like everything. But most men, they're passive and sitting inside the house waiting for things to happen and waiting for someone to tell them like what to do. It doesn't work that way.
Or they might push themselves in one component. And then we saw that on the
many times.
There's a crazy physical component for 2 days where you just sleep deprived, it's cold, you're training for 30, 36 hours.
You break yourself.
And this is fucking hard. And you'll get some people that are physical animals and quite tough mentally in that respect, and then you do the plant medicine ceremony after. And for them, spiritually, they won't go there. But they're forced to go there in that retreat sort of setting. But like they won't allow. They can be like physically animals and they can train hard and all that sort of stuff. But they emotionally and spiritually, they're like they don't even dip their toes in the water anywhere. And then the other people, the opposite. They emotionally can go to a place and spiritually, but then anything physical. Completely run from. It's testing all those different areas.
So many different areas.
That's it. And then why are they, the physical strong, why are they training themselves that hard? Because they're probably like avoiding a lot of other dramas in their life that that takes them out, because I relate to the Muay Thai side of things where like a lot of my training was an escape to other areas in my life that I actually had a lot of doubt and I wanted to work on it but didn't have anyone to talk to or didn't want to didn't just hope one day that it'll fix itself.
With regard to like on that, like vices and vehicles that you used to numb, we've spoke about like for you it was obviously training. And fighting was a vehicle that you used to numb pain, drinking, cannabis. As you started doing more work on yourself, and we all know we're not always immune from going back to those things, but like as you've got a far better grip on them, and did you find other things came into play or other behaviours that filled that void that maybe the excessive training? I mean, you still train pretty hard, so it filled the void. What fills the void that you previously would have been doing? Cannabis, drinking, these sort of things.
What fills it now, kind of thing?
Or have you noticed you've gone to something else now?
I think the cannabis is still there. Like I could easily, like when things get hard, I can use that as an escape to like cannabis is such a good diversion of thought. I don't know if you heard Huberman talk about that. It's true. It's like whatever you're feeling at that time, you can have a bit of cannabis and your whole thinking just changes. So that's why they even think like the thing with cannabis and pain, it's like they think that it's not that it's actually improving your pain, like helping you with pain. It's that diversion of thought that you forget about a certain injury or something because you get stuck on another story in your head. So that's definitely still always there. Other things, I think the food thing's been my latest. That's my new, like the sugar craving. I think that's the next, like, all right, when things get hard or stressful or whatever, like all I want to do is just eat shit. Like packs of lollies at night, and then usually that's combined with the cannabis as well. So it's like cannabis, eating heaps of shit food, having a terrible sleep, and then The
reason I asked that is because I probably had, before I started doing work with Theo, I had bad vices with women, sex addiction, going out
Yeah.
partying, drugs, alcohol, overworking, stimulants.
A lot.
Like I had the trauma.
You had the whole thing,
I had the
the
trauma
whole package.
I had the trauma
The
party
trauma
boy
line.
cocktail. It was served ice cold every Sunday night. So as I started to go through my whole process and work through a lot of these things, and now I don't like in Perth I don't really go out. I don't like I've got a better relationship with our few women. I don't go down that path anymore. Drinking, by and large, like really made great inroads with that. But wouldn't even touch drugs these days. But what I found is once I started cleaning up a lot of those things, other things started coming up. So then it was like my stimulant intake started going up.
Coffees and
Coffees. And then I went, and then once I said, like, I just noticed, the stimulants are going up. I was still working a lot. So I removed some very damaging behaviours, which I'm grateful for that we and not that I'm completely cured. We all every now and then.
Exactly. We're only human.
It's a constant journey, but it's almost like sometimes you work through those things, but different when your nervous system is like overstimulated and work pressure goes up, then a different vice may start to. And for me, like particularly last year, I was like training a lot of weights. I wasn't going out and drinking and all these sort of things, but it was stimulants and stimulant intake. I was having like 3 cans of C4 a day. 2 to 3 cans. And from that,
be sponsored by
So I actually got, because I had it in my clinic in the fridge, and I said, that's got to fucking go this year. So this year I went, I want to get off the stimulants, because then I'm like, everything's really good. Probably a bit too much phone time, but everything's really good. And then it's like, what have I noticed this year? Food.
Yeah.
So now my stimulant intake's gone down. I have like a nice long black coffee in the morning. That's it. And then it's like food, because my work's so high pressure and I do so much, my nervous system's getting fucking smashed. And even though I manage it better, food's come to the party now.
Hey, we should next time you have your food cravings, hit me up, man. I want to say
and bring a You know, the thing is,
I'm the same with the food, like shit.
But
it's the nervous system that you said, because what happens, and this is the process also, like when I coach someone, the first thing that you have to do is actually remove especially stimulants, because they actually mask everything, so they hijack your nervous system basically, so you cannot feel your emotions, you're always on fight or flight and all the stuff, so you cannot really connect with your body and what's happening. So as soon as you remove that, and we actually did that even with Mini D, as soon as you remove that coffee, we could really see what comes up in an emotional way, what he was processing up here, and that's the whole process. The same thing happened with you. As soon as you start removing things, all of a sudden you're left with what's hiding underneath, what you're actually trying to hide from.
Run from.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's where you really start do that work and all the stuff and process with things. But the reality is, because we're living such an intense life, and especially even with you have your businesses, you're doing so many things. You don't really have enough time and space to do this process consistently and properly. So either you take like a big time off so you can really adjust your nervous system and really regulate it, or you try as much as you can to try to do it in a way that it will really be beneficial and will allow you to tackle everything, without like over stimulating and all that stuff, or even having those behaviors like coming up a lot, and that's the process. Like even with me, remember like your successful fight where you actually got like the big prize and all that stuff. We really sat down with him and we made a plan. His diet was perfect. He started like properly, like, counting his food, his protein intake, like actually optimizing everything. He stopped having cannabis for how long? Like how many weeks? I think it was at least 4 weeks before the fight.
4 weeks is always.
So he started looking after everything, and we did sessions to regulate the nervous system. He started doing visualizing practices and all the stuff, actually visualizing himself, in the fight and preparing himself properly. So it was such a big process that really led him to 4 weeks of being in an optimal state, training properly, feeling like his performance was perfect, and he went into that fight. And finished it like in no time, and he also won the award.
Yeah, feeling present. I remember just
his interviews,
noticing everything. Like I noticed the cage, I noticed the people around, which usually is kind of like the anxiety, like the rush, just like let's get in there. But it was like, shit, like I didn't feel any of that. It was kind of just like doing something, going to the gym for a training session. That's what it felt like. And then because it was such a positive moment, the next fight I did the complete opposite. the trauma should come back, like the cannabis, the alcohol, the bad food, and I had a terrible weight management, and then it was just and then lost that fight. So it was like up and down.
It is, but it never stops, man.
We've done work for over 18 months, and I felt like I was at a level. I was like, nah, I'm really good. I'm like all over this shit.
Yeah.
And I went away on an overseas trip and went fucking mental, and I like, okay, you've been doing all back in. Because things were just so crazy, work-wise and everything. Then I went away. I think because so much stuff was probably suppressed in like the month, 2 months leading in. Once I went away, it was just like,
I remember that.
Fuck. Yeah. You know, and then that was the humbling. I was like, holy shit. I came back with so much shame and guilt.
Yeah.
Just going, man. You fucking like you're on top of this shit. What the fuck are you doing? Just partying like a maniac.
Yeah.
And then I spoke with Peter. And it's like, that's true. It's part of the it's part of your process. You're more aware. You regroup, and
and you're aware of it. That's the biggest thing. Which
awareness is very important.
Rather than just previously, I would have just kept. If I was even aware of that, which I probably wasn't, I would have just kept punishing myself. With punishing myself with women, alcohol, more work, more drugs, all those sort of vehicles, which just gets you into that shame, guilt spiral.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
It took you decades to fuck up yourself, man. Like you won't change like straight away. That's the thing, But obviously, like having the awareness also and actually noticing yourself, like going through that. It's such an important thing because majority of people, they're so unconscious they don't even understand what they're doing. Because the nervous system and the subconscious mind just take them on a ride. They don't have any level of awareness at all.
I have a friend, it was amazing to catch up with him and just hear him speak because he just got out of a very long relationship and basically how he describes it is he was in a trauma bond with her because he ended up seeing a therapist and he learned a lot and basically the two traumatic people had interesting. They were just supporting each other through it, but they weren't helping each other at all. So, and he was playing a lot of video games, heaps, and he realised. So now he's out of it and he's feeling heaps better. He ditched all his computer games and PlayStation because he realised that was a coping strategy when he was in a relationship with her. That's all he wanted to do, and he's like, man, I didn't even know what to do with myself after because I'm just used to being with her, so we'd do things or hang out, but it was kind of like, what do I like? They've been 12 years in a relationship, not knowing him. So he's like, I didn't even know myself. And then he's like, hang on, I did like the beach. And then he went to the beach, he loved it. So now he's going to the beach every morning. He's finding himself again. And it's great. He's messaged people on Instagram apologizing because he was a very put on a front. If you met him, he always had a chip on his shoulder and he was just the toxic masculine, fuck everybody. And and it was crazy to have these conversations with him now because he's really aware of how he was and he's apologized to people and they're hell shocked. And it's just, man, seeing him completely do a 180, I think, yeah.
And the awareness that you have also, when he was saying that, obviously you can understand in such a different way.
Yeah.
And your mate's in such a...
And I just see it in a lot of people today around me. They're just so disconnected from themselves, and it's what people think of them. They're doing things because they think that they're getting approval, seeking approval all the time and lying a lot, and just because they're not true to themselves and fuck.
And you got to be comfortable as well. That's something I've dealt with a lot in the last, particularly 6 months. The harder you go into your authentic self and not people please and go deep and deep and deeper, you're going to trigger some people. And that can be your family members, it could be friends, it could be work colleagues, it can be your partner and anyone, because they're like, oh, well, I used to know who Dan or Ryan or Theo was. It's I was comfortable, I was cool with that guy. Now you're doing
You're
this and
changing.
this, you're changing. What are you changing? And someone who's completely like happy for your growth, they'll be like, well, that's your journey.
Yeah.
And they'll support you, or they'll be pretty neutral. You do what you do.
Yeah.
But I think anyone where it really like it triggers them, it's always just a mirroring on their own.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Always a reflection of yourself.
Yeah.
With your coaching, because you coach kids and adults in Muay Thai,
Yeah.
what have you sort of learnt about people coaching them?
Well, fuck, that's an interesting thing when you speak of coaching, because I feel like I've only become a coach in the last few months, man. Like I coached for a long time, but I was never present as a coach. So it'd just be telling people to do things and not, I guess, having the eye for them that much. And now obviously doing a lot of self-work, I feel that I am a bit more passionate about helping people and trying to give them advice and teach them things, but be present with it. Whereas before I was never really present with it. It's kind of hit the bag, do this. But it's cool. So I train a couple of young kids now, which is probably the most people that I train on a regular basis, like these two young kids, and Ollie and Charlie. And it's cool to be able to tell them all the things that I've learned, or things that they shouldn't be doing, and getting rid of old behaviors that I used to do with the training, do 100 push-ups after doing 50 kicks on the bag. It's just not necessary, a lot of that stuff. It's a lot of trauma training, I suppose. So I just felt in the last few months, man, I've really opened up as a coach, because I guess understanding myself more, I just have more passion in it. Whereas before it was just, I wouldn't consider myself a coach at all. Yeah.
Do you feel now, with all the work that you have done, obviously it will help you to be a much better coach and everything, but do you see yourself as a coach in the future and actually devoting yourself in becoming a guide in the space to support young kids to grow through the process and
definitely
teach them actually the things that you weren't taught when you were young?
Definitely. I think I definitely want to give back to martial arts when I've finished competing. So I definitely see myself as I enjoy coaching the young kids at the moment. So I definitely would like to step in that space a bit more when I'm done. But it's not, I'm not definitely going to do that, but it's just in the back of my mind. I feel I can give a lot of advice and help to upcoming sort of athletes, and just give them some. Exactly. It's not just about the martial arts. It's about martial arts. Yeah, it's about everything else in your life as well. So, yeah.
What makes you happy?
Cannabis.
Santa Maria.
Yeah, I think.
What makes you fulfilled?
Shit. Good relationships, man. I think just being able to be myself around certain people, and I think that's really fulfilling me at the moment, because I'm just having these close relationships with people, and I'm learning from a lot of people as well. So that's fulfilling me, and obviously, yeah.
And I guess
partying. Just having these good relationships with my family relationship. I just had I had this thought the other day of I was very grateful for what my dad's always done for me, because I was always spoiled with their time. My mum used to take me to any sport I wanted to do. My dad, anything I needed help with the business, Dad, can you work Sunday? Bang, he would do it, right? And it was only yesterday it was, and I was just man, felt that, had a moment of gratefulness, holy shit, if he wasn't here, how difficult would certain things wouldn't be done, the maintenance stuff at the center, a lot of money would needed to be spent. Anyway, I just had this moment shit, I'm glad I'm feeling that now that he hasn't passed away. It's just to be able to be grateful for just being there for me, kind of thing. And I guess that's very fulfilling, just having people around you that are just fully supportive, and you can be yourself 100%, and you just be open and honest to them. I think that's awesome, because I never used to, even the close people, I could never be totally honest with them. But now it's kind of like, yeah, I done cambo, I've been shitting and pissing and fucking like, you know, just things like that. I think being yourself around people is awesome.
It's amazing how much deeper you go with people.
Yeah.
And some people weirdly, like you, they're always pretty superficial with, you'll go one of two ways. You'll go like really deep with them, and other people, as you open up, they'll like distance themselves as well. But I mean, they're just not meant to be there. And the other ones, you have such deeper relationships with them.
Yeah, 100%.
What's the legacy you want to leave to finish off?
Fuck.
Fucking hitting you real hard.
Yeah. The legacy I want to leave. Would it be superficially? But like, I mean, like with my martial arts goals, like I'd love to, the legacy of multi-sport martial artists that have competed at the highest level in different sort of martial arts, and like give that inspiration to the next kids that are doing that. That's a legacy I want to leave. Like, don't just stop at one martial art, like, you know, experience a few and try and get to the highest level. Because, don't put the roof on one martial art. Just keep going, because it's just, I feel that's helped me learn all these different martial arts, help me be open-minded and see things from a different perspective and connect with different communities. I think that's been, pretty amazing. So I feel like, I just want to inspire, I guess, the next generation of kids to do the same. If you can say that's a legacy kind of thing.
No, it definitely is. Definitely.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming.
Damn, I want to keep talking. I'm only just opening up now. Because at the start I was a bit like, shit, what do I say? Like when we started, I was a bit like, fuck. How in my head thinking of things like to say, but
So congratulations on like I'd like to acknowledge you on a magnificent career with what you've done in Muay Thai. You're brave to go to the MMA.
Thank
fight
you.
A couple of animals back at 1FC and do that, which takes some serious balls. And just for you're testing yourself in business, and that's something that it's a area of growth for yourself to go in. I mean, you're very, very confident as a Muay Thai practitioner going that, and obviously starting your own healing journey as well that you're doing with Theo, which takes some balls. And most guys haven't really got the balls to start that journey. So the fact that you've started and made some inroads, you should be very proud. And just being vulnerable today, man. So thank you for your time.
And thank you for having me. It was cool to just have the chat with you boys specifically, like, because we've had a lot of shared experiences, so it's just cool to be able to speak about things and why we are the way we are.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you. Cheers, legends.